I have the utmost confidence in what my boy is doing. I'm going to tell you right now, he's better than Steph Curry to me.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
Playoffs? You kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Sportz Sermon this summer. And we are back finally from our long school break, but it's summertime for us. And we're ready to start popping off on Twitter, YouTube, and SoundCloud. So if you're watching this right now on Twitter, know that you can also find us on YouTube and SoundCloud. The SoundCloud will have the audio version of this podcast. YouTube will have the video version, and so will Twitter. And as you can see in the description, that little graphic below, our Twitter handle at the Sportz Sermon, and then all of our Twitter handles below in case you want to give us a follow. And so what's coming up on the show today? We've got the Game 3 recaps of both series. We will be handling the Western Conference Finals, and then after that, we had an interview with Mark Caranta, former Bleacher Report writer, to talk about the Cavs-Celtics series. And also, the interview went a little bit long, so if you want to see the full version of that interview, make sure you go check out the audio version on SoundCloud. And yeah, so let's get right into the recap of Game 3 from the Warriors-Rockets series. Jason, what do you have?
So basically, if you watched any of the game, you saw the Warriors were in complete control of the entire game. The Rockets really never had a chance, and it was really about the defense. They held Houston to 40% shooting and only 32% from three-point range. And if you watch one game of Houston, everybody knows that the Rockets will shoot threes and get layups. They don't shoot mid-range. They don't shoot anything else besides threes and layups. And so that was a big deal, holding them to just 32% from three-point range. Golden State obviously won 126-85, and Steph Curry found his way and finally scored 35 points, 26 in the second half, and really showed the dominant player he can be for the first time since his injury. So my question for you guys, is this series over now that the Warriors go up 2-1 with Game 4 at home?
I think the series is over, especially with the 41-point demolition in Game 3. Steph Curry once again proved why he's the best shooter of this generation, in my opinion. And Draymond's been playing really well on defense. KD's been on fire all series long. And they had 6 guys in double figures last game, which is really important. And to be honest, I thought that this series was over before it even started, in my opinion. Because the firepower of the Rockets was like too much to handle for... Firepower of the Warriors is too much to handle for the Rockets. And in my opinion, for the Rockets to even stand a chance in this series, they had to have Harden and CP3 go off every game. So, and that's not really doable. So,
yeah, I would agree with you. Warriors with a 40-point win in Game 3. If they win Game 4 at home, it's practically over. I know they do have tendencies for blowing 3-1 leads, but I don't think that's happening in this case.
All right, I don't think this is over. The Warriors just need Game 4, and they are right back in this thing. D'Antoni doesn't seem like he's really too worried about it. He seems very relaxed. And if the Rockets do get Game 4, they will be back at home for 2 of the last 3 games. That home court advantage that they worked for. I think if they get Game 4, they are right back in this, and they do have a chance to get Game 4. They just need their role players to show up.
See, I disagree with you, and I agree with the other two guys. I just think it's over because, I mean, you kind of highlighted and why you said it's not over, that D'Antoni seems relaxed. They don't seem worried, yet this Game 4 will decide the series. I don't think anyone's debating that if the Warriors go up 3-1, there's no way this team blows 3-1 lead. They just won't. But the Rockets, if they can get this game, it's a whole different series. I think it's over because you look at the first 3 games. It was Clay and KD, 28-37. Game 2, it was KD, and then that was basically it. Clay and Dre combined for 14 points. Game 3, when they win again, Steph had 35. Draymond had nearly a triple-double. Whenever they get at least 2 guys to show up, they kill the Rockets. And I don't think there's another game in the playoffs that the Warriors don't have more than at least 1 guy stepping up and scoring. So I just don't see a way the Rockets win. And I wore this jersey because T-Mac, famous Rocket, could never get anywhere with the Rockets, and I thought it was a great homage to the Rockets that aren't getting anywhere after this
Whoa.
series. And I think the Warriors will win the next 2 and win in 5.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
I love T-Mac. Don't get me wrong. I just thought, you know what? Great jersey for this episode. This is the funeral for the Rockets. I might as well wear somebody that couldn't get them over the hump either with Yao and T-Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so next thing then, who's more vital to the Warriors' success in this series so far, up 2-1, and just overall success for the Warriors, Steve Kerr or Oracle Arena?
Yeah, that's a good question because obviously we know about the stars, the big 4 they have, but I went with Oracle, and I think since Kevin Durant came to Golden State, just the home court advantage has been such a big deal for the Warriors, along with other teams, but the Warriors have been so much better. 65-17 in the last 2 years in the regular season at home, only dropping 17 games in 2 seasons at home. But then you go to the playoffs. They have yet to lose a game at home in the playoffs with Kevin Durant. And that's where I just think Oracle Arena, the fans show out every single time. And we saw it last night when Steph Curry had his little yelling session. We'll keep it PG-13 on here, but this was his house, and you just saw Oracle light up, and I think that's a huge reason as to why the Warriors have been so successful.
Yeah, I have to agree. Definitely Oracle Arena. It isn't like a big knock on Kerr. Like, he's a great coach,
Yeah.
but I'm not too sure how much of an impact Steve Kerr really has on the Warriors. Like, they're all superstars, veteran players, and you saw after getting destroyed in Game 2, they showed a clip of Steph Curry smiling because he knows that they kind of overlooked them, and they're veterans. They got back on track and they proved why with a 41-point win. So not a huge knock on Kerr. He's still a great coach, but I think that they're all veterans. So I'm gonna go with home court.
I took a little different take on this. I think Steve Kerr, who's an actual person, can actually make an impact for the team. I think he's the leader. He's a general of his army men.
I know what you're saying.
Metaphorical. They were 29-12 both on the road and home this year, and so they've proved that they can win on the road. And in this series, they're 3-3 on the road. And if they win this Game 4 at home, they'll have 2 more games on the road. And if they're 3-3, odds are they're going to win one of those 2.
But see, the numbers don't lie. 18-0 at home. They literally have not lost at home since Kevin Durant has come to the Warriors. Like, that's where it's 3-3 and 18-0 is such a big difference.
That's true, but then I guess they're both vital to the Warriors. Because,
Yeah.
imagine the Warriors without Steve Kerr.
Yeah,
no
I mean,
coach.
Mark Jackson, they couldn't get anywhere. Yeah, I agree, not as much as Zach, with the fact that I think Steve Kerr, as you guys will hear later in the show on the interview, about how I think Steve Kerr is a top 3 coach, hands down. I'm a big fan of Steve Kerr. I just think Oracle Arena is – the fans are just the best in the NBA, and I just don't think that's debatable.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Oracle. And it's not really because Oracle's a big part of the Warriors' success, but Steve Kerr's a pretty consistent, laid-back guy, and I think he has the same attitude going into everything. He's going to be consistent with that, so I don't think his home and road kind of performance will really change too many things for the Warriors. I just think that Oracle's a big part of the Warriors' success, and Steve Kerr, really, home and road, he's about even.
Yeah, speaking of Warriors' success, we talked about the other factors, but let's hit the big 4. Who is the Warriors' MVP? Is it Steph, KD, Draymond, Clay? What do you guys think?
Right now it's definitely Kevin Durant. He's been the most consistent Warrior this whole entire series. He had 37 points, and the big thing was 1 turnover the first game. Then the second game, he had 38, only bright spot on the Warriors, really. And then Game 3, 25, 6, and 0 turnovers. He's playing out of his mind.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. In the one loss that they had to the Rockets in Game 2, he was their one positive note that they could bring out from that game. And I think if he can play well when they lose and when they win, he's your MVP.
I think he's the rock, but Steph is the most valuable player. They can't win without him. His huge performance allowed them to pull away in the second half, and if he has a bad game like in Game 2 when he really got picked on, the Warriors can't win if he's not showing up.
See, I went with Draymond Green, and I think
Bias,
you
Michigan
said
State.
I'm going to IU. You see the flag right here. There's no bias anymore. But I think what you said about being the rock, that's what I look as KD also. I agree that KD is the rock of this team, how you mentioned. But I think when you look at who's this guy that not is the reason they win, but is the reason they are where they are, I think it's got to be Draymond Green. He always is guarding their best player, unless it's the point guard, obviously, but guarding the best player. In wins, he's averaging 12 points a game and almost 50% shooting. And in losses, he's only averaging 8 points a game and shooting 36%. So a big gap percentage-wise. But I think it speaks more to his defense and his energy. Like, those aren't things that pop up in box scores. It's just a matter of he is out hustling, out working, and is just the heart and soul of this team. And although basketball stats don't always back it up, I think Draymond Green is by far the reason they have been so successful over the past 3 years. Kevin Durant took him from great to probably the best team ever, but Draymond, I think, was the big reason they got to great, along with Steph and Clay, obviously.
Yeah, like his tough attitude, like what he brings to the team, like intimidation, like it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to the Rockets side of things, though. They're down 2-1. Who needs to step up the most for them to win this series?
You're probably not going to like this one. I'm going with Chris Paul. I know Clipper fan right here won't like to hear that, but I just have been very underwhelmed with Chris Paul. I'll save my analysis for later when we talk about James Harden and Chris Paul compared, but I'm just going to I think it's Chris Paul.
I agree. It's also Chris Paul. Game 2 only had 16 points and only 6 assists. He's been lacking on assists lately. He had 3 turnovers that game, and then Game 3, only 13 points. Did have 10 rebounds, give him credit for that, but only 4 assists. He needs to get his teammates more involved, but definitely Chris Paul.
I would have to agree with Chris Paul as well. If you want to be the second star on this team, you're going to have to really improve. And if, when the team needs you're down 2-1, it's going to be you that has to step up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Chris Paul is distributing the ball perfectly fine in my eyes. What he really needs is some role players to step up, and my player that needs to step up is Eric Gordon. He does one thing, and he needs to shoot threes. What are you doing, Jason?
I was flicking the IU flag because IU boy.
Hoosier.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can't shoot 8 threes in a game and only make 2. The one game the Rockets won, Game 2, he really stepped up and shot the 3 ball absolutely out of his mind. So Eric Gordon got to step up for the Rockets if they want to get this thing done.
So I guess my question to that is so say Eric Gordon, I don't know what he's averaging on the season. I don't have it pulled up, but say he puts up his average of probably 10 to 15, at max 17 points. Does that really change their team that much? You know what I'm saying? I feel like if Chris Paul has his 30 and 12 game that we've seen in the past, that's a lot different than Eric Gordon going from 12 points to 17 points.
I definitely agree, and it takes pressure off of Harden. You saw the games in the Western Conference in the round before, where Chris Paul would be unconscious and then take his guy one-on-one. Harden could relax, take a rest, and even just stand in the corner. So it takes a ton of pressure off Harden. He doesn't have to get buckets every time down the court. So I agree with you. If he puts up 30-something and double-double with assists, that would be huge.
Yeah, I looked up Eric Gordon averaging 18 points a game. So
yeah.
I think last night he had 11 or 12. So yeah, that's just I think where I don't agree with is just because is that 6-point difference as much as if we see him, like you said, go unconscious like he did in that where he had 40-something points for whoever they played. It was.
You can't expect him to get 40 points.
No, I'm not saying, but I'll go into it. He's yet to have 7 assists in this whole series. Jalen Rose said it perfectly this morning. I was watching Get Up. He said, "quote He wakes up out of bed and has 10 assists. He couldn't even get 7.
They got to make shots. So here's my thing: the Warriors or the Rockets role players, they need all of them to step up, not just Eric Gordon. They can't really win without him. In Game 1, Harden and Chris Paul combined for 64 points. They both played out of their minds, but Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, Luke Mbah Mute had 9 points combined on 3 of 17 shooting. They can't, and Harden and Chris Paul played absolutely out of their minds in Game 1, but they didn't win because the role players didn't step up. They didn't make those threes that Harden and Chris Paul distribute the ball, and you can't win if they aren't knocking down their threes. That's the Rockets game, and if they're not going, the Rockets aren't winning.
I guess I have higher expectations for Chris Paul. I don't think 23 points is going off or out of his mind or anything. I'm getting his stats up from Game 1 right now. Yes, James Harden was definitely having a fantastic game, but Chris Paul had 23, 11 rebounds, but 3 assists. Like I just feel like
I mean, it's not his fault if he passes the ball and they miss a 3. What are you gonna do?
I mean,
you can't blame that on Chris Paul.
They didn't miss every shot they took. Like Aaron Gordon still hit 3 threes that game. Gerald Green had 2 threes that game. I mean, James Harden had 5 of them. Like there are ways to get assists. It's just a matter of I have been very underwhelmed with Chris Paul this entire series. His points have gone down every single game since the beginning. 23 the first game, 16 game 2, and then 13 in game 3. Like as the series gets tighter and tighter, he's becoming less and less effective. Right. And with that being said, he's never been here. He has never been this far. As you know, as a Clipper fan, the Hornets never got this far. Like, this is uncharted territory, and so I guess I was hoping we'd see pissed off Chris Paul, right, and he goes for 47 again against these Warriors in game 1 or 2 or 3, and they have to put it all out there because, I mean, I think we all agree. Harden and Paul have to play their best games every single night
game
to hang out the Warriors. Their team just isn't as good enough or as deep. That's just fact.
I mean, but if you look at game 2, Harden and Chris Paul both did not shoot that well, but because the other guys made threes, the Rockets won that game. They need the role players to step up.
But you can't expect 22 points and 7 rebounds from PJ Tucker every time he steps on the floor. That's just not his game. He had a good game 2. Good, that helps. But you can't expect 25 and 11 from Chris Paul. I just feel like the assists are really where I've been bugged. Defensively is another topic. I mean, let's just get into it now. Chris Paul or James Harden. I'm still saying we need more from Chris Paul. He's given up the 3rd most fast break points on the teams, and he has the worst defensive win shares on the team. And he's not even guarding Steph Curry most of the time. They switch everything, so he's guarding Kevon Looney sometimes, Andre Iguodala, and yet he still has the least amount of defensive win shares. So he's not doing what because you've watched him for how many years? Pick and roll, distributing. That's his game. Yeah. The Rockets don't do that, and I just feel like when the games have gotten where they need him to step up, he hasn't been there. While James Harden hasn't played that great, he's still playing his game. I feel like Chris Paul's gone completely away from his game.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that the Rockets role players play a bigger role in my mind.
Okay. I mean, so yeah, who do you guys think, Chris Paul or James Harden? Who's been playing worse and who needs to step it up?
I'm saying Harden because of the defensive side. Also, the defense and effort. Really, once he gave up last night, the Rockets really just continued to get worse and worse and led to their 40-point loss. So I think the team really rode Harden's effort last night, and once he was out of it, they were out of it.
Yeah, I'm still saying Chris Paul, but that's a good point. His effort, like if he wants to be like an MVP and the leader of the team, he can't give up on his team like he did. And like once again, Chris Paul reiterating the fact that lacking on assists and basically the points that I already said.
Yeah,
I mean I would agree that James Harden needs to step up his defense, but nonetheless, Harden's doing his job of scoring, and Chris Paul, I still think, needs to step up more than Harden does. All around.
I mean, one thing just about Harden's defense is that they never really got defense out of Harden. It's not like he's turned it off. And same thing like when we talked about the Cavs is like they never really tried on defense. It's just never been their thing.
It's always been with him. Like with Harden, you're getting like 40 a game sometimes, but then like now not as much defense.
But with Chris Paul, I must have higher expectations. I expect like 30 and 10 in the playoffs. Like, I just don't think that's crazy to ask for. I mean, we've seen him do it plenty of times in regular season.
I don't think he's not LeBron.
But it doesn't take 30
game in the playoffs.
I'm not saying every game, but like do it once.
Yeah.
do it once.
Game 5 against the Timberwolves.
No, that series is over.
This series.
You don't need him in the Timberwolves.
This is the biggest spotlight.
That's what I'm saying is he doesn't show up in the biggest spotlight. In his career when he's on the Clippers, he didn't show up in the Western Conference semifinals when you needed him. I mean, just he's never shown up in the biggest stages, and that's my knock on him. It's just I don't feel like he does that. And like you said, Harden at least scores.
Yeah,
and his points are declining every time. Chris Paul's like 23, 16, 13 points last night, 16 points in their win. He just has been very underwhelming, and he's the guy I want to see pick it up 100%. Because if he picks it up, I think this series is not over. I think if he does get back to prime Chris Paul, I think this series is very interesting.
We haven't seen it yet, though.
Exactly. We've yet to see it.
All right, Game 4 predictions.
I'm going Warriors 15+.
I said I said Warriors 10+, and I think the only way it's different is if we see a 40-point outing from James Harden and a near triple-double from Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul needs
I mean, he's been rebounding the heck out of the ball. Like, he has been rebounding fantastically. He had, 11 rebounds last night. Game 1, he had 10 or 11 rebounds. Like, it just play your game.
The Warriors had, their swag back. You saw
the shimmy.
Steph Curry's shimmy, getting into it with the fans.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they have their swag back, all their confidence, and they're not going to take the Rockets slightly, and they're not going to overlook them again like we did in Game 2.
I think even if the Rockets step it up, the Warriors are still home, and they have their swag back, as they were saying. And the Warriors have it by over 10.
Yeah.
Easy.
Rockets 125 to 124.
Do you want this jersey too?
God.
We can donate this jersey to you. Become a full Rockets fan.
What do you think Chris Paul's stat line will be?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good.
I think that it really depends on the shooters. If they show up, he will get 10+ assists. But if they're not making shots, there's not much he can do about it. That's my only.
How many points?
My only point. 20, 25, somewhere around that.
You need more than 25.
To beat the Rockets, you're going to have 30+.
I think Harden also has a good game.
How many do you think Harden puts up? 40?
30, 35.
They're not winning with that.
That's-
They're not winning with
that's
They
that.
the
are
issue.
winning if
That's the
they're winning if the role players show up.
Eric,
In
Okay, let's
game
go
2,
through it. Okay, hold on, let's go through
my
it. So
God.
Harden is 30-35. I like that.
Okay.
I think, Paul, you said 20-25. How much does Ariza and Tucker put up? They have to put up 20 apiece.
Not 20 apiece. Eric
That's
Gordon.
what they did in Game 2. 19
Eric
from
Gordon's
Ariza,
been like
22 from
27.
Tucker.
Eric
27 from Eric Gordon in that game.
Yeah.
I know. Eric Gordon can do that. He can light it up.
Okay.
He's a 3-point contest winner.
So what's he have?
Oh, you want the 3-point contest.
No, that's fair. What's Eric Gordon put up?
20-25.
20-25. Okay.
Tucker and Ariza both get about 15. They can.
Okay,
they,
this is the last thing
They
I'll
can
say.
do this.
This is the last thing I'll say. All those things that you said happened in Game 2. So I see where you're coming from.
It's not unreasonable.
True. But that was probably their best game they played in the playoffs. And so I just don't see them repeating that in Oracle. We both talked about how powerful Oracle Arena can be. That's where I'm doubting you. If it was at home, I don't think you're crazy by any means. I still don't think you're crazy. I just don't see it because I just don't think the role players have 19, 22, and 27 from their three best shooters off besides Paul and Harden. But, I mean, that's what remains to be seen. Let's get into the Eastern Conference with Q. I mean, we have a pretty good interview. We filmed it yesterday, which is, for listeners, Sunday night, in case you guys listen to this Tuesday. We recorded this Sunday night with Mark Quaranta. Dylan already highlighted this a little bit. Former Bleacher Report writer, current high school basketball coach, an author, and a teacher. So let's go check that out.
Hello and welcome back to the Sportz Sermon, and we are welcoming on our first guest ever, actually.
Yeah.
Mark Quaranta, who is a former Bleacher Report writer, also an author, teacher, and a high school basketball coach. And today we're having him on to talk about the Cavs-Celtics series after Game 3. Game 4 going on tonight. So, first we're going to start with a quick game recap of Game 3 from Jason, and then we'll get into some questions from Q.
Yeah, so Game 3, obviously home in Cleveland. The Cavs were in control the entire night. LeBron leading the way with 27 points on just 12 shots. Also had 12 assists in the win. But the big story of that Game 3 game was the Cavs having 5 other people scoring double figures. Kevin Love, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, and George Hill. Korver shooting perfect 5 for 5 on the night was a big reason the Cavs played so well. On the Celtics end, this is where it's concerning. 39% from the field, 27% from 3. Jaylen Brown, only 8 shots attempted. Horford, only 4 shots attempted. Jason Tatum did lead the way with 18 points, though, for the Celtics. But the Cavs in complete control all night long.
All right, and so we're going to start off. First question. So the Cavs obviously played great last night, but do you think the Cavs can really stay hot and keep up the same production all series long, especially when the series goes back to Boston?
Well, I think the Cavs can, but I think they kind of have to follow the formula that they went with yesterday. Especially when you watch that first quarter, is that it wasn't all, like Jason said, with the 5 other guys scoring in double figures. It wasn't all LeBron James from the get-go. The Cavs have kind of had this LeBron James either posts or he's in a pick and roll, and then everybody else kind of spots
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they shot a lot of threes, but if they are aggressive, I mean, I think the entire game changed when you see, Jaylen Brown picks up his second foul in about the first 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it was. But, Terry Rozier hasn't had to guard really at all playoffs. Eric Bledsoe in the first series with Milwaukee was horrible. And then against Philadelphia, he didn't really have to do anything. The one game Philadelphia won against Boston, TJ McConnell had 19 points, and he made Terry Rozier have to play defense. If those guys, Terry Rozier, Jaylen Brown, if those guys have to guard, it completely changes the game. And yeah, LeBron James did his thing, but the rest of the Cavs, they were more than just catch and shoot guys. They put pressure on the defense, and I think if they kind of stick with that formula, I really think the series is kind of up in the air.
Yeah, I like what you said, especially about that Rozier point, because that's a very good point, especially in that Philadelphia series, like you said. He never really had to guard anybody. Ben Simmons, he wasn't guarding, so he had to really help on J.J. Redick at most. And I think that's an interesting point. But I think a follow-up question I have for you is, do you think George Hill should have the ball in his hands a lot? Because, yes, it worked, but will it always work? I mean, George Hill, don't get me wrong, is a good player, but is he the guy that you need for the Cavs when they're down 2-1 and the Celtics have still the momentum despite this big loss? Do you trust George Hill with the ball in your hands?
Well, my answer two ways. One play that really comes to mind is the play started. It was early in the game. LeBron had it in a pick and roll, and Kevin Love popped. So he hit Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Kevin Love didn't have his shot, so he swung over to George Hill in the corner, and then immediately went into a pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just that it doesn't necessarily need to be George Hill, but it needs to be somebody, and they need to continually kind of turn down the first three that these guys are used to taking. And maybe if it is set one more ball screen or one more cut to get the next guy open, and kind of, I guess, lengthen possessions. Maybe get into the 15 to 20 seconds of the shot clock, 24, and just really lengthen possessions where you might not be shooting the first three, but you might get a better shot. And then I think about, the Lakers, the Bulls, kind of before this big era of the big three. So when I say big three, I don't mean Durant and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I don't mean Bosh and Wade and LeBron James. But if you think about teams that have won championships in the past, you look at the Shaq, Kobe Lakers, they always had the third guy step up, whether it was Derek Fisher or Robert Horry or Rick Fox.
Yeah.
Jordan and Pippen of the Bulls, Steve Kerr stepped up, or Tony Kukoc stepped up. So I don't think it necessarily has to be George Hill, but it's got to be somebody else. And again, I think the biggest thing is they can't, Kyle Korver hits 4 threes, and J.R. Smith hits 3, and even George Hill hit 3 the other night. But I just think it was the way that they attacked the game. They didn't immediately just look to be catch-and-shoot guys. They put pressure on the defense, knowing that, okay, if I drive, the next guy's open. So I just think that Kevin Love hasn't been playing amazing all postseason, but second-best player, he's an all-star. The Celtics have to notice him. So I just think that third guy, whoever it is, Hill, Smith, even if it's Jordan Clarkson, has to do more than just be a catch-and-shoot guy, and it completely changes the way the Celtics guard them.
Yeah, I mean, they always say the role players show up at home, and obviously the Cavs showed up last night when they were at home, and the Celtics had their guys show up when they were at home in the first 2 games. They completely dominated the Cavs. So are you thinking that the Cavs will still be able to keep this up in Game 5 or Game 7 if they have to go back to Boston in that terrible environment for them, at least?
I think the Cavs can. To kind of think in terms of playing at Boston, I know it's tough, but especially after watching last night's game, I am really concerned for the Celtics because they're so young. I heard today that now, including last night's loss, that the Celtics are 1 in 5 on the road in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I truly think Cleveland doesn't lose at home, to kind of jump ahead.
mean, that's a good point. And I think also the Cavs have been in finals games where they went to Oracle and have beat the Warriors. So I think the experience is definitely on their side.
Yeah, and you look at the Cavs and who they start most games, and LeBron's made it very clear that if he's going to go down, it's going to be with his guys. He's been with J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love. I mean, even Jose Calderon and Kyle Korver getting some minutes here. Like, obviously, Calderon not much, but Korver getting minutes, and all those guys that really, are they better than Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood? They're probably about even, but you see the Cavs going with that experience, and that's what I think is going to make this such a good series as we get farther and farther, whether it's Game 5, Game 6, Game 7. Korver, Thompson, Love, and Smith all have 3 years of going to the finals, and like you said with the youth, that could be the difference maker in this series.
Yeah, and I mean, big reason that a lot of people are saying that these guys for the Celtics are stepping up is because of Brad Stevens. So, I mean, where do you think Brad Stevens is in this current ranking of coaches? I mean, obviously, everyone was talking about last week how he didn't get a single vote for Coach of the Year. Obviously, a bunch of people are regretting that now, the way he's done it in these playoffs. Q, where do you think that Brad Stevens really ranks in the coaches right now?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it earlier, and I of all people, I mentioned it to my wife. And I said, I mean, she coaches high school basketball as well, so I said, you got to think Brad Stevens is the second best coach in the NBA. And she said, well, what about Steve Kerr? And so, off topic, that kind of shows you how accustomed we've just become to the Warriors. I mean, I didn't even think about Steve Kerr. My number one is Greg Popovich, and I feel like until he retires, he has to be up there. So I guess Brad Stevens and Steve Kerr are kind of 2A and 2B. But like you had said, with everything that he's got in terms of Steve Kerr, I mean, Luke Walton won kind of Coach of the Year last year, 2 years ago when he was with the Warriors, going 34-0. Brad Stevens doesn't have any of that right now. I mean, you look at him, you have Al Horford, and then your kind of leading scorer is a 19-year-old kid. You got Terry Rozier, who nobody even knew who he was until the playoffs really started. And I think so. I truly think Brad Stevens has already made himself the second best coach in the NBA. And again, it's because he's making these guys who we don't really know of, and he's making them really good players. But the big thing is, I think he gets these players to buy in. You can put players on the court, and they can have a good string of games, but to actually get guys to buy into the system and to play off the ball and to just work really hard. And I know Kyrie Irving is out right now, but even him being on Boston, you've kind of seen a shift in his game. I'll say I've never been a huge Kyrie Irving fan because I think once he gets the ball, the play dies, and he does a lot of isolation plays. And yeah, I mean, he's great at it. But in terms of the team game, I always kind of felt like, all right, if he just moved more without the ball, I think the Cavs would have won 3 championships with him. And now he comes over to Boston, and Brad Stevens has got him to buy into this system of moving without the basketball. And, it's scary. We can talk about the Warriors and the Rockets and Philadelphia coming up, but with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward and Brad Stevens, the Celtics, I mean, and then the young talent that they have that we're seeing in the playoffs right now, it is scary. And then I think the biggest thing with Brad Stevens is humble. I mean, if you ever just listen to him talk, he enjoys what he does so much. He enjoys being around the guys, and you don't see that a lot. You don't hear about it a lot. So as good as the Warriors are, and as good as Steve Kerr has shown to be, Brad Stevens, in my opinion, is the second best coach. And if Greg Popovich coached for another 10 years, Brad Stevens may catch him. He may be the best coach in the NBA in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you mentioned talking to your wife about Steve Kerr, and that's what she said, because that's the direction I went. I went with him being third, probably tied for second, but I'd give the nod to Kerr. And I think the knock on Kerr, like you said, is that talent. But when you think of coaches in all time, Phil Jackson is very highly regarded as probably a top 1, top 2 coach of all time, and yet he had probably top 5 players at all times, whether it was Kobe or MJ. So I went with Steve Kerr at number 2. because I think, to your point of Brad Stevens getting them to buy in, I think that's what he's done over in Golden State, getting guys like Andre Iguodala to turn down a big Rockets contract to come back and play for the Warriors. We're hearing Klay Thompson wants a contract extension. That guy could go to the Lakers or the Sixers and have a much bigger role. You have Kevin Durant, who came to the Warriors because of Steve Kerr and what they're building around there. Draymond Green, not a big scorer, but is really that guy that bought into the system. So that's why I went with Kerr, kind of for the same reasons you did, but the only reason I give him the upper hand over Stevens is because he's done it now for 3-4 years instead of Stevens really 1.5 to 2 of great basketball. And not that he's been a bad coach with that. Like, I mean, he had one of the worst teams in the NBA a few years ago and still got them 25 wins. But I just think Kerr, with what he's gotten to get these stars to want to be playing Golden State and get them to buy their role, I gave the nod to Kerr.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, and I don't think there's any, like you said, I mean, it's tough to choose between them. I also just, this is the coach in me that if there's 5 seconds left in the game and you have a timeout and you look at Popovich, you look at Brad Stevens, you look at Steve Kerr, Quinn Snyder of the Jazz, if I'm on the defensive end and Brad Stevens is drawing up a play to win the game, I'm almost terrified. I'm almost trying to think of what can we do to just, I don't want to have to stop a drawn-up play by Brad Stevens, and that's what kind of gives me the nod towards him, is that I don't think you're stopping a play that he draws up off the top of his mind, and just like his genius in that way, with the Warriors, let's just set 2 screens and get Curry and Thompson open, but how are you going to guard when Terry Rozier or Morris, Marcus Morris, is possibly the one getting the play drawn up for him? And I just think his creativity in those late game situations is just, it's tough to guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Brad Stevens is just insane at those last second plays. But again, like Jason was talking about, I agree with your order, Q. I think that he's the second best coach. And my thing for Kerr, it isn't that he isn't a talented coach, but I think that he fits Golden State style perfectly. Like, with his laid-back style, he knows the guys have talent and he believes in them. But I don't know if it would translate to more of a gritty team such as the Celtics or a team like the Pacers, a team that doesn't have all the talent in the world but still can get it done. And I'm not saying that Steve Kerr's a bad coach. Obviously, what he's done with Golden State is fantastic, and I think that because he has the talent on his team already, I think his laid-back style fits well. But I'm not sure how he would motivate a kind of more gritty team like those teams I mentioned.
So to clarify, you think say both got fired today and you were the Suns front office needing the coach to coach the worst team in basketball and have the number 1 pick, you'd pick Stevens over Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Because he doesn't have all that talent.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And then you kind of look at the other side of the series for the Cavs. Ty Lue, a lot of people have been putting a lot of blame on him, and they're looking at the coaching battle of Stevens and Lue. And
is it even a battle, though?
Stevens is dominating him so far. How bad really is Ty Lue? Is he costing the Cavs this series, or what's going on over there?
Here's the thing, and I don't mean this in any way as a knock on LeBron James. But when you are stepping in as a coach of LeBron James, if you think about it, if you are the most creative coach, if you're Brad Stevens and you can draw up this amazing play, do you take your chances drawing up a play, or do you say, you know what, we have the best player in the world, let's get him the ball? And I don't think that LeBron James, because a lot of people say they don't run anything, they just get him the ball, and he's selfish with it, he won't just move without the ball. It's tough. When you take a Cavs job and you're coaching, or when you were with Eric Spoelstra, if you look at Eric Spoelstra, the Heat, as dominant as they were, they didn't do anything creative. It was, all right, give it to LeBron, and he'll either get his shot or create. Give it to Wade, he'll either create or get his shot, or he'll create for somebody else. And then, Bosh kind of turned into the Kevin Love role. He set screens, and then he popped for threes. It just kind of seems to go that way with LeBron, where crazy enough, why run anything offensively when you have LeBron James and you have all these great shooters, that it's almost just like you can't knock Ty Lue. If you look at David Blatt, in, was going to have this motion offense, and then, kind of ironically, he gets here, and then LeBron James signed. So the entire motion offense system that he ran, it's probably really good, but once LeBron's there, it's like why take the ball out of his hands? So David Blatt, lasted a season and 5 games, whatever it was.
Yeah, if that.
So it's no, I don't think. I think Ty Lue isn't. If you were to just measure up their stats, I don't think he's as good of a coach. But I feel like anybody who coaches LeBron is going to get knocked because they just play a different style. I just don't think there's a strong reason to take the ball out of LeBron's hands.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, just to follow up on that, if Ty Lue was coaching let's go with the Hawks, would you like him as the coach, or would you prefer one of the other hot names yet to be signed, like an Ettore Messina from the Spurs, or somebody that maybe hasn't even gotten a chance, or has, like a Frank Vogel, any of those guys? Would you give Lue that chance if he could on a worse team? Like, where do you look at Lue in that regards? Because we've never seen him without LeBron.
I probably wouldn't call him. If he were to get fired and I'm the Hawks or whoever else is looking for a job, I probably wouldn't call him to be the head coach. But if options are limited, I would, I look at him kind of like a Mike Brown, where Mike Brown is a great coach. Now he's the Warriors assistant. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And I think Ty Lue would jump on as a head associate coach, be an assistant for somebody, and then in 2 years we'd be talking about him to be another candidate for a head coaching job. And I think it's because, yes, he's a smart coach, but he also gets along so well with his players. So I kind of look at him like Mike Brown, and I guess that's the same example because he was with Cleveland, and everybody was like, what are you doing? You're not coaching at all. And then, he kind of got his shot with the Lakers, and it went horribly. But now he's with the Warriors, and all you hear about is how great he's doing there. So I think Ty Lue definitely needs. I think it would help him to be in a different situation. But no, I don't see him jumping right to another head coaching position. I think he's too great of a guy to cast away so soon.
Okay. Yeah, and last question. So Terry Rozier, a couple days ago, he said, and I quote, we needed to get our butts whipped, come back to reality. So from a coach's perspective, is that like a thing that you actually might want to happen? Like, will that in any way really motivate the Celtics? Or I'm just kind of confused. I'm just thinking that Rozier is just kind of being brash with this thing, a little bit too confident out there.
This is my 50-50 answer, which you guys probably aren't going to like. I'm not 100% in one way or the other, but this is how I think. So you guys had mentioned I coach high school. I coach over at University High School. We're a small school in Indiana, but we worked our way to number 1 in the state. We had started the season 11-0, and then we played in the holiday tournament, and our first loss of the season was in the championship game. We lost by a couple, and us as coaches said, this is absolutely the greatest thing that could have happened to us. I mean, we were shooting lights out. We were winning games by 15 to 20. Nobody could beat us. And then this team from Vincent Lincoln, they were a great team, but they ended up just stopping everything we were able to do. So we walked out of there 11-1, and it was tough to lose. But then our first game back after winter break was against the number 1 ranked Tinley, and we ended up beating them. And we just realized we're vulnerable. We're not as good as we think we are right now. And it was a great loss. It was early in the season. So as far as Terry Rozier saying that, yes, this is my 50-50 answer. They're a young team. So for people now to be saying, wow, Boston might be the team to beat in the East, I mean, they were saying that when they were beating Philadelphia and people were picking them. I think it's good for a young team because now they realize, okay, we can't get too hot-headed. We're not the favorites. We need to actually work for it. So that, I guess, might help them. But I think my full answer is this is game, with the playoffs, 97 of the season, including the regular season.
Yep.
Like, there's no more time for this. There's no good time to get your butt whooped. What you want is to sweep the Cavs, go 4-0, and then get some rest before you have to play one of those dominant teams in the West, in the Rockets or the Warriors. So I understand what he's saying, and he's trying to kind of paint this picture of, okay, maybe we could still be the underdogs, but there's no time for this anymore. If he wanted to say that back in December when there was still half a season to play. That makes sense. But like you're 2 wins away from the championship game. It's not good to lose a game because now you just gave the best player in the world some running room to now win this series and move to the championship. So I get what he's saying, but no, it's too late for that. They got to play every game to win. If they won every game by 24 in fast break, it's not time to be happy that you just got your butt whooped.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I also agree. I think Dylan does also that this is not the time, and you want to get a win, and obviously if you need to get your butt whooped, like you said, do that in the regular season. But you mentioned that Western Conference powers, they can't get there without beating the Cavs first. They're up 2-1 going into Cleveland for Game 4. Who you got?
You're going to think I'm crazy, but I have the Cavs winning Game 4, and then I have the Cavs winning the whole series. It's I mentioned earlier the Celtics aren't doing great on the road, and I not only see the Cavs winning all 3 of their home games in Cleveland, but are you going to tell me that the Celtics, that LeBron James can't win an away game? I think that's a crazy thought. So I think the Cavs tied up 2-2, and then I'm torn. I don't know if the Cavs. It's tough for me to say the Cavs can win 4 in a row against the Celtics.
Yeah.
So I guess I say Cavs in 6.5 because I mean I didn't think they beat the Raptors 4 straight times as much as LeBron's kind of dominated that team. So I gotta say it's Cavs in 6 games or it's Cavs in 7. They're gonna steal one away from Boston.
No doubt in your mind that the Cavs can win it. See, I'm on the other side. I think the Celtics get the job done and go up on the famous 3-1 lead on the Cavs. Obviously, we know they can come back from 3-1, but I just feel like we talked about how great of a coach Brad Stevens is. I just don't see Al Horford taking 4 shots in such a pivotal game again. I don't see Brown getting 5 fouls and only taking 8 shots. I just think the Celtics, quote-unquote, stars will show up more than they did in Game 3. And I don't think Kyle Korver can shoot 100% from the field. George Hill had one good game, but let's see if he can do it again. Like, I just think everything went right for the Cavs and everything went wrong for the Celtics, which was the reason they lost by 30. I'm rolling with the Celtics in Game 4, and I think the Celtics win it in 6.
Wow.
See, I gotta say, as you say that, I'm looking. I gotta look at these stats when you guys called me. Jordan Clarkson shooting 3 for 11, J.R. Smith 3 for 8, George Hill 4 for 11, and Kevin Love 4 for 12. Cavs shot the ball horrible, and you look at this, but the one thing that we talked about earlier was their effort, and I think the Celtics are younger, they're hungrier, but I just feel like once they knock them on their heels, that the Cavs, we haven't really seen the Cavs shoot the ball well yet, so it kind of depends all on, like you said, the coaching, but I think the effort. If the Cavs just play hard, and then I don't know, I think I've just turned into a 100% LeBron believer. It's hard for me until it actually happens to pick against LeBron James.
I mean, you sound like Zach Munson over there, always picking LeBron and never doubting him. We'll have him on for more talk about LeBron. You can always count on him to tell us we're wrong when it comes to LeBron. But the one thing I just want to say back to that is we saw the Cavs play hard on defense. Now, one game of, I think you said 97. They have not cared about defense the regular season or the first 14 games of the playoffs. I don't say what you want about Toronto, but it was not always their defense. They have struggled on defense, and I just don't think they're a good defensive team. And it's funny that you pick Stevens the better coach, I pick Kerr the better coach, yet I'm rolling with Stevens to out-coach, I guess, LeBron in this matter. I think Stevens gets the job done, and then, spoiler, I think they get killed in the finals no matter who wins. But I just think I'm taking Stevens, who knows how, if they're not going to try on defense, if they lapse on defense for 10 minutes, I feel like this Celtics scheme has just enough to be able to take advantage and give them that win. I don't think any more games are blowouts. I think everyone goes back and forth, but the Celtics they know how to take advantage when the team doesn't try on defense. They've done it against the Sixers, who were on defense, the Bucks, who had flashes of good defense, and then the Cavs, who have had one game of good defense, but the rest of the year has been horrible. So I'm taking Stevens, which is funny. You take LeBron, I'm taking Stevens. It'll be a good matchup for sure. Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, you're right. Let me ask you two a quick question. So, because it kind of goes with all how series have gone, because this is kind of how I feel listening to you talk, Jason, about the Celtics. It's hard to pick against the Celtics, so let me ask you guys a question. Whoever wins Game 4, do you believe they win the series, or are you Celtics hand down?
I'm with that because
Game 4.
if the Celtics win, it's a 3-1 lead, and we know LeBron's came back from a 3-1 lead before, but then the Celtics have 2 more games at home. I think they get at least one. However, if the Cavs win Game 4, I think it goes to 7 if the Cavs do win.
And you're not taking.
And
You're not
then-
betting
yeah.
against LeBron in Game 7.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
he'll put up 95 before he loses in Game 7.
Yeah, I'm with Cavs in 7 and that statement. Yeah.
I don't know. Part of me feels like the Celtics could still get done 2-2. But, I mean, they'd win 2 at home already. I think, whoever wins Game 4, I guess I'd roll. They win the series. So, Game 4, definitely going to be a huge game. Dylan, who do you think wins Game 4?
I think the Cavs get it done at home again. I think they show more effort, and even like Q mentioned, like they didn't shoot that well, but they still got it done. Obviously, they had some more than others. Kyle Korver stepped up, but plenty of guys didn't shoot that great. And the Celtics, again, being a young team on the road, Quicken Loans Arena, usually a rowdy one. So
Yeah, it's no Oracle, but it's pretty loud.
yeah, it's no Oracle, it's no TD Garden, but it'll still work for a young team in a new environment.
All right, Q. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Sportz Sermon. Hopefully, we can get you back on for the finals preview, even during the finals. Get your thoughts on whenever the Warriors, I'll just put that out there, whenever the Warriors take on whoever comes out of the East.
Jeez.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you guys having me. And yeah, I'm telling you, if LeBron gets to the finals, you're gonna want me on there too, because even in the finals against those two powerhouses, LeBron is LeBron right now.
Okay, so side note, don't put Zach Munson and Q on the same podcast because all we'll hear about is LeBron. Good to know. Thanks again, Q. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
All right, welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Mark Caranta. Really good discussion on the Cavs-Celtics series. But let's move into some other things.
So, big things going on. This is going to be our NBA rumors. I guess just sports rumors in general. Dylan's got a bonus NFL one for us, but
Don't ruin it.
sorry. We're going to try to have these every episode where, as everyone that follows sports knows, you can check your phone at any point during the day, and there will be some rumor going on in June and July with the NBA mainly, obviously with the NFL too. So we're going to have this segment hopefully every episode. So the first thing, though, what's going on in the NBA? NBA Draft Combine was this past weekend, and we saw a lot of good things and a lot of questionable things, along with good interviews with the elite prospects that did not do any of the drills or the 5-on-5s. So I can start this one with, let's just go into our risers and fallers from the Combine. We all put out mock drafts usually around the NBA draft time, so this is when NBA draft stuff starts ramping up. My riser was Dante DiVincenzo. I know this is a pretty hot name since the start of the national championship towards probably the draft, so stay pretty hot. I was just impressed with his consistency. That was something I was really wanting to see from him because anybody can have a good game, but let's see if it translates to when everyone's playing 120% in front of all these scouts, and he did. The rebounding, I think, probably went viral on Twitter at one of these points when he just snagged the one-handed ball and all that, and he shot very well. I was just very impressed with Dante DiVincenzo. I'm sure someone else has that on here because it's a pretty popular opinion.
Yeah, I also had Dante DiVincenzo, and he played amazing in scrimmages. Obviously, continued his great shooting that he flashed in the championship game, and also played defense and once again rebounding. But also his testing was really good. He had the highest standing leap, tied for the top max vertical, and the 5th best lane agility time. So flashing his athleticism, and then another name I had because I knew someone would have that was Javon Carter from the point guard from West Virginia. I always loved him in college. Great, consistent point guard. And once again, he played great in scrimmages, flashed his great full-court defense, and had 11 points first game, 19 the second game. And I think he could be taken the highest in the late 20s, but probably the 30s. So I think he really boosted his stock and could be a good flyer pick.
Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo, the white boy, coming out with those big NBA Combine stats. I've got another white boy to talk about, Grayson Allen. He posted a great lane agility time, the second best shuttle run, and a 40.5 vertical. So, I mean, he's showing people that he can really be more than just a slow kind of shooter guy, more than just a J.J. Redick hanging out around the three-point line. Everyone loves to compare the two guards from Duke, both great three-point shooters, but Grayson Allen trying to show that he can do just more than that at the Combine.
I also had Javon Carter. I don't think he's going to be a 20s, 30s pick. I think he'll be a second rounder. But
that is second round, 30s.
Okay, well, you said 20s, 30s, so I was assuming like 31, 32. So
That's still the second round, but I got you.
That's
I got you.
fine.
Keep
Same
going.
thing.
Keep going.
Okay, I'll say middle of second round, just to
Yeah.
piss off.
I get you.
But I think he can prove from the Combine. He proved his defensive ability and his Patrick Beverley-esque player.
Yeah.
And then another one I had was Kostas Antetokounmpo. I mean, he's no Giannis.
No,
But-
don't get me started on Costa.
He's still a giant, athletic, 7'2" wingspan, raw prospect who.
like every other prospect.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is he? Are they all from Greece? Do they all have Greek freak blood in them? No. Antetokounmpos are special. It's a special family. Better than the Ball family, I'll tell you that.
All right, that's where you need to get out of this
Yeah,
podcast.
you
That's
should probably leave.
insane.
We do not condone that.
Yeah,
behavior.
this is not.
That was obscene.
Wow. I like the Javon Carter pick by both of you. I mean, I'm a big Combine nut, as everyone that knows me knows. I love this kind of stuff. I thought Carter. I thought you made a great comparison there with just Patrick Beverley. He annoys the heck out of people on defense, and I think he can be a guy that he's never going to be a starting point guard for a great team. I think he'll be a great backup point guard that can come in and lock some guys down.
All right, let's get to followers. Jason, who do you have?
I don't even know how to pronounce his name. That's how disappointed I was. It's either Shake Milton or Shake Milton. However you say it, it's from SMU. I never watched him play in college. Yeah, I just watched him in the Combine. And literally, I don't even know why he was invited. I was so disappointed. He literally did nothing for the entire week. He shot 0 for 6 in all of the scrimmages, did not make a basket. And literally, he's like everyone that I've heard from on him is that he's inconsistent. Well, here you go. He's very inconsistent. He couldn't even score a field goal in the Combine. I was so disappointed. And speaking of the Ball family, part of me was like, rather give LiAngelo a tryout than this guy. He couldn't even score. So I had to get my Ball family love in here at least once.
All right, so my faller was Brandon McCoy, a former 5-star who was at UNLV.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm gonna say this. If you are a 5-star big man, do not go to UNLV. Last year, Steven Zimmerman, the number 5 overall player in the class of 2016, went to UNLV. Late second round pick. Okay, he was supposed to be a lottery pick. Do not go to UNLV. Okay, so for all of our 5-star viewers out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Anthony Bennett either.
Oh, Anthony Bennett once again. Yeah. So
Well,
I'm gonna go to actual stuff. So he can't stretch the floor. Can't really protect the rim. Not very athletic, and he proved in his bad testing. And in college, he would try to get the ball in the post and back him down.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in the NBA. So
so
he's out of luck.
do you like his game before the Combine, or you just weren't a fan of him anyway?
Wasn't a fan.
Okay, so it's not as much about the Combine as you just didn't like him because he went to UNLV. That's why I'm asking.
And he played really, really badly.
Yeah, he didn't look great. I personally like Brandon McCoy. I don't care where he went to college about UNLV, but I mean that's a good point.
There's
That's
a
good
trend.
point.
There's a trend.
Yeah, that's a good
Thank
point.
you.
But I personally don't care where you go. I like his game. I think he can be a successful backup center. I don't think this draft is that deep in general. I think top 15
Top
is
8.
the last of starters. Top 7, maybe 8, like you said, is where you'll get like good starters.
Superstars?
I don't think.
Or no, not
I think there's maybe 3 superstars in this draft at most. Like I just don't think
Really?
this draft is that deep. I think Bagley, Doncic, and Ayton. I don't see Jaren Jackson being a star. I think he can be a very good. Like, do you consider Hassan
Michael Porter Jr.
Whiteside a
could-
star?
Michael
No.
Porter Jr. could definitely be a superstar.
I don't think so.
don't
I do
know.
not think so. We'll talk about him later, though.
Yeah.
You guys?
I also had Shake Milton from SMU.
Is it Shake? Are we sure?
It looks like Shake. to
All
me.
right, cool.
Shake. Who would say Shake?
I don't know. I just feel like Shake's a weird first name. I just didn't want to like. All right.
Shake's a dope first name.
All right.
But you can't go 0 for 6, and if like at least the 4 of us don't already know you, and you go 0 for 6 in the Combine, you're pretty much already off the face of the earth.
Yeah, for real.
No offense.
Has he hired an agent yet?
I don't know. I'll check while Dylan
What
goes.
agent would want him?
All right.
All right. Anyway, my follower is going to be Trae Young for his measurables. One of the 10 smallest players ever when you combine his height, wingspan, and his weight. And this is in a league, the NBA, where the point guards just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I think Trae Young might have a tough time getting around some of the bigger point guard
Hey,
defenders.
but he's Steph
in
Curry.
the
Come
NBA.
on. He's Steph Curry. He can shoot from 35 feet one time a game. He's got to be Steph Curry.
I mean, if he can make like 1 out of 12 or something
no,
like
I
that.
know.
But
I'm not a big fan of Trae Young. Actually, I am in college. I don't think NBA wise so trains. I loved watching him in college. Who doesn't like watching that kind of game?
Right.
But your question, he is not signed with an agent.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if he does now.
Right, yeah.
But the deadline, I think, if I remember correctly, is like June 2nd or June 3rd. So we'll know in the next few weeks about whether those guys are staying. Away from the combine, let's get into some rumors. And before we get into rumors, we have four rumors that we're going to talk about in the NBA. And when I saw these rumors that we put out here, I put them all into 2K. Because if you're going to do rumors, you might as well put some 2K into this. So as we go through them, I will have trades that 2K generated for me. And we'll see what you guys think. So, Dylan, you want to kick us off with the first one?
all right, let's get into it. We're only going to offer you the spiciest of takes on the spiciest NBA rumors. So the first one, Karl Anthony Towns is apparently not in a good place with the Timberwolves management.
Yep.
You
And
got-
he was spotted wearing a Devin Booker Suns jersey. I almost wore that today. So I was like, do I throw some shade at Cat? But I was like, nah, I'll stick with the Rockets. Yeah.
I buy it. I buy it. The
Really?
Timberwolves have been very underachieving. Okay. They've had all the
That's
talent in the
facts. That's
world.
actually, yeah.
Very underachieving, not going anywhere in these playoffs. And so I honestly buy it. I think he wants to go to a contender, but there's also been like links to the Suns and the Bulls.
There's just no way they trade him. Can we, there's no way that the
No,
Timberwolves
no.
would be the stupidest team.
No,
to
I
trade
agree.
him.
They will not trade him.
No,
but
I know what
I
you're
think
saying.
I buy that he does not like where he's standing right now.
I know what you're saying. I get you.
Yeah, they're not going to trade him.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I see his concerns. And a quick point on the Devin Booker thing. I think Devin Booker is just so desperate to play with another good player on his team that he is just hopping all over these rumors, trying to recruit someone
Dylan,
to the Suns.
I don't remember if you remember me telling you this, but remember, D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, and Devin Booker are really good friends, and I told you that could be a big three right out of the draft. We see those two coming together. D'Angelo, you know how much I love D'Angelo. Put them together, superstars.
No.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't think we know enough yet about the level of Carl's really concerns with the Timberwolves, so we can't really say whether he's going to be in a Timberwolves jersey next season. I would still bet he stays.
Oh,
but-
yeah. I mean, like I said, I think they'd be stupid to trade him, but here's the trade rumor that I have for you. Karl Anthony Towns and Jeff Teague for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. This came up on 2K. I didn't make this myself. Who says no and who says yes? Teague
How
and
old is Rudy Gobert?
Gobert's like 27, 28. I don't know. Let me look. But either way, you're getting. He is
It's
25.
outlandish. That's never gonna happen. Like, one, I don't think the Timberwolves are ever gonna trade Karl
I don't
Anthony
either.
Towns. They'd be stupid to, because he's their superstar.
Yeah.
That's just a crazy trade. Like, we
That
can
would-
all,
that
we
would
can all
break the
dream
NBA.
about it and how it would break the internet and break
Yeah.
the NBA world.
Who do you
but
think
it's
says
never
no?
gonna happen?
I just don't know. I went back and forth with this for a while because, from the Jazz perspective, you get the better player and still a solid point guard. Like,
From the
that's
Jazz
very
perspective,
good.
You can't do it. I think
But
the Jazz
from-
say no. The
But
Jazz
from
say
the
no.
Timberwolves' perspective, he's not happy. You're getting a hot rookie and a center that's
And
just a
Gobert.
little bit worse. Like, I think if I had to pick a team that'd say no, I think it would be the Jazz. But I don't know. I just cannot decide why. Like, it doesn't feel like that bad of a trade, but I don't think it would ever happen. It's just like so crazy to think about.
All right, let's move on. Dennis Schroeder has deleted all of his Hawks Instagram posts and has said publicly that he wants to go to a contender, specifically the Pacers or the Bucks.
Yeah, he said something along the lines of like they're both doing it the right way in the front office, which I think is interesting. I'll give you guys the trade first, and you guys can go into your analysis. We got Dennis Schroeder and Josh Maggette, some kind of two-way contract for
Corey
Thon. Not him. Thon. He follows up me on Twitter, so shout out to Corey Maggette. But for Thon Maker, Tony Snell, and the 2019 first round, that'd be the Bucks trade. For the Pacers, it'd be Schroeder, Antonius Cleveland, and swapping first-round picks. For Bojan, Corey Joseph, you swap it, and the Pacers give up a second-round 2020 pick.
Okay, if I'm the Pacers, I'm saying no to that.
Okay.
Partly because I love where they're heading, and I don't want them to do anything with the roster, to be honest. I think, we challenged – yeah, I'm a Pacers fan. We challenged –
Wearing a Cavs jersey.
Yeah,
obviously.
right. Challenge the Cavs. LeBron's my favorite player. We challenge the Cavs. I like where they're heading. I don't want them to mess up anything. So I just want to stay
But
true
this,
to our roots.
okay, real fast. The Pacers team you have right now, though, is not ever going to contend for a championship.
True.
Well,
You
yeah,
gotta
because
do
the Warriors.
something.
Because the Warriors.
Okay, the Warriors are out of it. They're still not comparing for a championship, I just feel like.
Yeah, they
need a star.
They do need a star.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
need a
sorry.
star.
Keep going.
Another star.
Yeah.
They need another
Anyway, Dennis Schroeder is not that guy, though, and he will not work well with the Pacers, so I'm saying no to anything if I'm the Pacers. Schroeder needs the ball in his hands, and he's not good on spot-up shooting, the one thing that the Pacers need from a point guard. And Darren Collison was perfect at that last season. He shot, and he's 45 to 50% from three. It was a big number for Collison. Plus, he played some solid defense, too. Schroeder's not going to fill that same gap for the Pacers, so I don't really like it for the Pacers, although a team that needs a point guard should definitely try to go after Schroeder.
Yeah.
I agree that Schroeder wants out. I understand, and judging from everything that I'm hearing, he's going to get out somehow. And he'd be great on another team, but the Pacers, I don't think it'd be a good fit for him. And I do agree, Munson. I don't think they should really change the whole what they're doing right now with the Pacers, but that team they're doing right now is not like
Yeah,
that
they
team's
need
not
to
winning
add a
championships.
star.
They need to add a star, and Schroeder's not a star.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Like, what's so good about Dennis Schroeder?
I mean, he's
Collison's
solid.
better.
He's
Collis-
solid. He's a solid point guard.
But Collison's better. So I don't know what's
He could be used on a lot of other teams, but
I don't know if Collison's better.
He's
He
not a
averaged
superstar point
Schroeder averaged almost 20 points a game, 6 assists.
And like how he fits the Pacers.
I think Collison's a good backup, though. I don't think he's ever going to be the starting point guard on a championship contending team. Collison's a fantastic backup. So if you tell me Schroeder and Collison, that's
I don't think that's anything like.
I'm just saying. I think that's
I don't
a very solid point guard.
probably Chris
But like, none
backcourt.
of them are like stars.
Get out of here.
I don't know. I'm just saying Schroeder, Collison, Vic, and then at whatever pick you draft another 2. That's a very solid backcourt.
I mean, hey, shoot to the Rockets. Maybe help out the Chris Paul problems.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Anyway, let's move on to Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, it's been very well documented about his just skipping everything with the Spurs, not coming back except for like a 7-game stretch this season, leaving again, and there's rumors that he wants out. Top trade destinations for everybody?
I'm gonna go with the 76ers because they have a lot of assets, and with Kawhi, they're a championship contending team, no doubt about it. So I'm gonna go with Kawhi to the Sixers.
I also agree. I have Kawhi to the Sixers. I was going to say the Lakers, but I don't want us to trade for him. I think we have a very good shot, similar to the Paul George thing last year. I think we have a good shot of signing him in the offseason. I say Sixers, if I'm you, make that trade.
Los Angeles Clippers. Let's go. The Clippers have 2 lottery picks that they can deal to the Spurs. Also, if the Clippers could get rid of Danilo Gallinari in the trade also, that would be absolutely beautiful because Danilo Gallinari played in probably 20-something games this season for the Clippers and didn't really do that much anyway. $20 million, he's way overpaid. So, Kawhi, come to the Clippers.
You mean LA? Like, you go to the Clippers for 1 year and then come to the Lakers.
Oh,
Just switch
no.
locker rooms. No?
Whoa.
I'm personally a fan of Kawhi to the Milwaukee Bucks, west to east. Now, the Bucks have a good amount of young players that they could trade to the Spurs, who are in need of young players. And I think Giannis himself isn't winning a championship. He needs another star, and Kawhi is that star that could help him.
That's something I've honestly never heard. Like, I just think that'd be an interesting fit. Because
Yeah.
that means
It'd be fun to watch.
Giannis would have to be the point guard then. There's just, like, you can't roll out Giannis at the 4 and Kawhi at the 3. He'd have to be the point guard, which I don't think he's there yet, but he could be. And I think with Kawhi, you make it work for sure. Like, you'll do anything to get Kawhi. I think 29 of the 30 teams would do anything to get Kawhi. One team, obviously, the Warriors, would not give up their guys for him. But I think that's definitely interesting. It's just like, that surprised me. That's a new one that I really haven't heard. But I like that. I think there's an interesting fit there.
All right, let's move on. apparently the Clippers have their eye on Michael Porter Jr. and are interested in moving up in the draft. You think the Clippers should go up and get him?
You take it first. It's your team.
All right. I like Michael Porter Jr. I like moving up in the draft, kinda though. It depends where exactly the Clippers go. Right now, Michael Porter Jr. is sitting about 8 in the mock drafts. I want something more if you move up from 12 and 13 to 8, because the NBA draft is just kind of a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get. And I mean, at the 13th pick last year, Donovan Mitchell went to the Jazz, and we saw what he did. So I kind of like in the NBA draft having as many shots as you can get at trying to find a good player out of there. So I don't hate it, because I think that top 8 really has a lot of talent in this draft. But I think you should just be careful with that if you're the Clippers, because you just want as many shots as you can get in the NBA draft.
Yeah, I'll keep mine brief. I think what you're saying conceptually makes sense with getting as many shots, but this draft isn't as deep as last year's. Last year's might have been the deepest draft we've seen since '84 or '03. Like, last year's draft was an anomaly compared to the other ones. I just think this top 7, you just keep saying 8. I think 7 is where the drop-off happens, and I think if I'm the Clippers, you have to go up and get him, because that's your one shot at getting DeAndre back.
I definitely say that if you're the Clippers and you want him, go for it. Because I'm a big fan of Michael Porter Jr. I wouldn't hate it at all. I think he's a stud. He was like the number 1 or number 2 high school prospect, and I'm not worried about his 2 poor NCAA games. I'm not worried about that. He was just getting back. And I watched an interview the other day of him. He said that his back's feeling better than ever, and that his back surgery was a blessing in disguise, because even as he was slotted in to be the number 1 overall pick by many people. So even when he was in high school and that was happening, his back still hurt him a lot, but he just couldn't get a surgery yet. So he said it was a blessing in disguise, which is very interesting. So I say if you want him, go for it.
The Clippers are in a bad spot where they're just out of the playoffs, so they don't get a really good pick, but they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's the spot that the Pacers were in a few years ago, and it completely sucks as a franchise. So if you have the opportunity to go up and get what you think is going to be a future superstar, I think you have to do that. You have to do that risk and hope and pray that he turns out to be a superstar, as you think he will.
Yeah, you're not making that trade if you don't think he's a superstar. I think that's a good point. Like, you're not trading up 5 spots to be like, oh, we're going to get a better, slightly average guy. Like, you're doing it if you think he's a superstar, and that's... I personally don't think he is, but Zach does.
Are you worried by his 2 NCAA games?
Not even the NCAA games. I'm worried about the injury. That back injuries aren't ankle injuries. They're big deals, and as an 18-year-old kid having a back surgery, I'm concerned for what it looks like in the future. Lonzo Ball had sat out almost a third of the games this year, and Markelle Fultz barely played. Like, all those injuries are big deals, and I just feel like if he's already having injury concerns now, I know this is not even the right sport or anything. RG3 had an ACL surgery when he was a junior at Baylor, then went to the draft. He tore his ACL the next year. Like, it's just little things like that where past injuries can lead to futuristic injuries, and I just don't want to trade up. Like, if you're the Cavs at number 8 and that happens, you didn't lose anything because you were going to take him with that pick. If you're the Clippers and you trade up to do that, I feel like it hurts a little bit more. Not just my injuries are what worries me.
All right, speaking of football, you talked about RG3. We have one spicy NFL rumor for you guys. A bonus today. OBJ apparently will not show up to camp until he has a new contract. Any chance the Giants trade him?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
Well, breaking news. I just got on my phone. Le'Veon Bell plans to skip Steelers OTAs again.
Breaking news.
Call me Woj over here.
All
Sorry,
the big
Woj
names.
bombs.
And Julio Jones trying to hold out, but he has 3 years left in his contract, and I feel like the Falcons, if they give him a deal with 3 years left in his contract, that's not setting a good precedent for the rest of their young players on their defense, who would demand the same thing. So they're not going to do anything.
And Aaron Donald's sitting out too. Like, it's just popular.
If you're the Rams, you got to pay Aaron Donald.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
I agree.
If you want to win a Super Bowl,
I agree.
If you're a big name player like OBJ or Aaron Donald, you know you have power in an organization where if you want some money, you're going to get some money. And
Yeah.
so if you want something, they're gonna be able to get it because they have that popularity. And
Someone's
that
gonna pay him.
talent.
Someone's
Yeah.
gonna pay him.
Especially Aaron Donald.
Yeah, because he's young.
He's a future Hall of
He's
Famer.
young, yeah.
Future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I mean, every position but quarterbacks, I feel like are getting underpaid in the NFL. Just like everyone in the is getting underpaid. The NBA salaries are so much higher, and like the NFL is such a more taxing sport. And I just, besides quarterbacks, I think they're all getting severely underpaid. And these stars, I think Michael brought up a great point. You have so much leverage because someone will pay you.
All right. Well, thank you guys if you made it this far in the episode. Again, you can find us on Periscope, YouTube, and SoundCloud. We will have a podcast coming out this Thursday and this Friday this week. We'll try to have them on Monday, Wednesday, Friday most weeks, but due to a scheduling conflict, that's what it will be this week. Again, follow us on Twitter at the Sportz Sermon, and we will see you guys Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Peace.